Welcome everyone to Building on Near, hosted by walt.id today. So first of all, I would like to know where you're joining from, because that's always nice. So feel free to write in the chat on YouTube, and then let's get started, I would say. So what do we have today on our agenda? First, welcome, which we just did. And then next up is the introduction to Near, which will be done by a Young, also from the Near Foundation, who will be joining today. So welcome. And after that, we will do the introduction to walt.id, which I will do. Then we have a project and solution design overview. So what we build and how you can then use Near and the walt.id product suite to enable NFT minting, login with NFTs in Web 2, as well as NFT verification, which will then also be shown in a demo by Khaled from the walt.id team. And with that, let's go into the introduction of Near, and yeah, welcome A Young Pro.
Thank you so much. Thank you both for having me, and I'm very excited to be sharing a little bit about Near today. So just a quick intro about me. My name is Ayang Jun. I am with the Near Foundation. I focus on developer engagement, and the Near Foundation is kind of like the operating arm of the Near ecosystem. We are actively working on decentralizing, constantly trying to figure out how do we empower our community to be more at the front lines of how we build out and evolve as an ecosystem and as a protocol. So in terms of how long I've been at Near just over a year, and a lot of what I do on a day-to-day basis is really thinking about how do we improve the developer experience, what are some ways we can help developers really figure out their kind of contribution pathway within the Near ecosystem, and then working alongside some of our decentralized community initiatives as well. And I'll touch on those in a little bit. All right, so to dive right in. All right, so just a few highlights about the Near kind of ecosystem and as product. So Near, I would say one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is how fast and scalable we are. That was kind of like the crux of why Near was started in the first place. There is a very fun story about how our co-founders, Ilya and Alex, they actually started the Near project or company as an AI company, and they ended up pivoting into a layer one blockchain because they just realized there weren't a lot of options out there if they wanted to be able to compensate people all over the world in a quick and efficient and cheap manner. And so one of the things that we've really focused on as we've scaled as a company and as a protocol is constantly just focusing on how do we keep things fast, how do we keep it scalable, and also maintain a really cheap price for the developers as well. And so just a few notes here. Obviously, we have almost nearly 0 seconds to finality, and our transaction costs are probably some of the lowest in the market. And so that is something that we really try to focus on, both in terms of the developers as well as for the users. And speaking about usability and just being friendly, so we do try and really focus on being a developer friendly protocol as well. And so last year we launched our JavaScript SDK, trying to just really focus on how do we make this technology a little bit more accessible to more developers around the world. So obviously JavaScript is one of the most widely used languages. So now if you know how to code in JavaScript, then guess what? You also know how to figure out a smart contract as well. You don't need to pick up Solidity, or for us it was Rust, which is not a super commonly used language. And like I said, there are a lot of people within the Near ecosystem really focusing on developer experience and how we can help developers feel more empowered to make the transition, especially when it is a risk jumping into Web3. And that kind of leads to the final point on this slide, which is just around usability and interoperability. So one of the big things that we've started focusing on is the idea of what happens beyond just being a layer one. And so we launched Blockchain Operating System, or the BOSS, earlier this year. And the entire premise is how do we kind of bridge the gap between Web 2 and Web 3, as well as like between users and developers. And so what I mean by that is if you think about the kind of like gap between Web 2 and Web 3, there's a lot of issues around onboarding, obviously like infrastructure management, just like cross-platform support. Obviously, walt.id is like, one of those like important products that are helping to bridge that gap. And so what blockchain operating system is trying to do is just really making it easy for Web 2 companies and projects to make that transition. And in terms of like users and developers, how we're trying to bridge that gap, if you think about Web3, there's a lot of fragmentation, and it's not super easy for projects to be discovered, or for apps to be accessible to users if they're not necessarily using a specific chain. Then like as we grow as an ecosystem and as an industry in Web3, like that's not a scalable solution. And so BOSS, what we're trying to do is create a unified gateway for any users who want to explore Web3. They can come in and whether you've built your app on Ethereum or some other chain, like you'll still be able to deploy your front end within BOSS or on Near, and it will be accessible to anyone who is also using BOSS. So that is one of our biggest hopes of just how do we make it easier for people to discover apps that are relevant to them from the user perspective, but also from the developer side. Like, how do we make it easier for people to discover your apps or your projects if, like, even if they don't really understand the idea of all these like different chains that are involved. In terms of user friendliness, we're also working on just making that onboarding process a lot simpler. And so one of the things we launched recently was Fast Auth. And so you can sign up with your email, and it actually integrates very seamlessly into your mobile authentication processes. So the biometric authentication, so you can use Face ID or your fingerprint to kind of, log into your wallet. And that's just something that we're trying to do, because it is a very clunky process to open up a wallet and to get onboarded if you're not a super technical person. And so how do we make that just more accessible so that we can reach a larger audience and not make it seem so kind of scary for a lot of new users. And obviously also thinking about like decentralized identities. Like, from our perspective, one of the stories that Ilya, one of our co-founders, really likes to talk about is the idea of like being able to take your reputation with you across any kind of platform. And so a story that I've heard him use is talking about like if you're a driver with Uber and you want to maybe transfer over to Lyft, which is another car share ride sharing app within the US. If you want to make that transition as a driver, you actually don't get to take your reputation with you. All of the rides that you've done, all of the 5-star reviews you've received, that does not translate. And so just even trying to kind of make that a possibility. So we're really excited about the idea of like what all like Web3 can really do. And so like blockchain operating system is kind of one of the main things that we really are focusing on, and we think there's a lot of possibility there. And then in terms of decentralization, it's one of the things that we really feel like is at our core. So one of the big initiatives is the Near Digital Collective, or the NDC, and that is like a community-driven governance kind of and funding arm for all public goods within the Near ecosystem. And so anything around, like, for example, grassroots DAOs and any funding, even like the grants process, all of that is kind of being put onto the community. And so, it's not a scalable process for one centralized body to kind of manage that. And also, I don't think Near really believes that's like the spirit of Web3. And so what we are really trying to do is how do we empower the community to make those decisions? And so we have like developer DAO, marketing DAO, creatives DAO, and all of these DAOs are focusing on how do we fund and support these ecosystems or our ecosystem across all of these different community groups. And then we also have regional hubs. We have hubs in India, Kenya, Korea, Vietnam, in the US. They all kind of focus it on community building, as well as, I think like India, for example, is very strong in terms of working on partnerships with businesses and Web2 partners. And so really, again, trying to focus on how do we empower our community to kind of push the growth of the Near ecosystem and really figuring out how to establish more, I guess, like localized and relevant use cases with these businesses on the ground. And then I spoke about Developer DAO through the NDC as well. So Developer DAO is kind of like their main focus at the moment is DevHub, and DevHub is where all developers can kind of go to figure out their contribution pathway. And so we have initiatives like the fellowship program, which you can contribute to the ecosystem with any like advice, answering questions. You can also become a mentor for newer devs, etc. It's a wonderful program, and there's also like a contributors program. So if you want to help write documentation or maintain repos, that's also something that we're trying to really encourage our community to get more involved with. And then last but not least, this is one of my favorite things about Near. We are very environmentally conscious, and it's something that has been at the core of Near for a very long time. And so obviously we are proof of stake, layer one and blockchain. And one of the things that I thought was interesting, and I know a lot of other projects are talking about this now, but we are carbon neutral. And so the idea of we get to offset our carbon footprint through reforestation efforts. That's something that I've always really enjoyed. So if anyone wants to learn a little bit more about Near or how to get involved, you can check out near.org, or if you want to look through our docs, you can check out docs.near.org. And then if you just want to, this is learn more about Near again, but that one should have been to get involved. You can check out neardevgov.org, which is the DevHub kind of governing body that I was mentioning, and they also hold office hours for developers on these various times. All right, so thank you, everyone.
Amazing. Yeah, thanks, Ayoung, for giving this great overview and all of these different highlights from the story, how everything started, to your focus on developer friendliness and UX and the boss, and then also the ideas behind and your thoughts about digital identity and how that integrates into the whole picture, and as well as focus on the Web3 with the decentralization and your efforts there, as well as on the environment side. So thanks a lot for the overview. And then let's jump into walt.id. And for those who don't know walt.id yet in that detail, so we think about ourselves as an enterprise-grade open source infrastructure tooling for developers that lets you launch identity solutions across ecosystems and using one common interface. So giving you a great user experience, and no matter the application of digital identity, where it be like verifiable credentials on the one side or NFTs on the other. And basically, you have in the middle here the walt.id layer, which is the abstraction which lays above all the new technologies which are evolving, like tokens, NFTs, and certificates in different formats from W3C standard and MDL, and trust services, as well as secure data storage, which is decentralized, blockchain, smart contracts, and so on. And on top of the abstraction, you have different applications. So on the one, you have the new evolving Web3 dApps. And on the other, you have all the enterprise infrastructure and apps which are already out there. And we want to make sure that the new technology can be used in both worlds. Okay, so let's zoom in a little bit on this walt.id layer and see what we have to offer. At the bottom, you have the spectrum, where on the left side you have Web3 native things, and on the other, the Web2. And basically, on the left side, you can see the SSI kit and the NFT kit, which are our core products on which then other products are built. So the SSI kit, which basically helps you with everything SSI related, from verifiable credentials, MDL, and so on, so that you can create issuer solutions, verifier solutions, and holder solutions across different domains. So we support different DID methods. So you can build on AppSy, you can build on Checked, you can use DID Key or DID Web, and also different credential formats where you can just use predefined standards, so BWs, W3C VCs with, let's say, verifiable diplomas or verifiable IDs, which are standard templates, or build custom templates. And then you have our NFT kit, which basically helps you create and launch NFTs, so tokenized assets, and collect and airdrop them to users, and then use them to build accessibility. So verify NFTs, whether that might be just the ownership of an NFT or more granular, like the metadata of the NFT. And then on top of the SSI and the NFT kit, we have our wallet kit that helps you launch together with the storage kit, which brings zero trust data storage into your applications. The wallet kit helps you create holder solutions with the storage kit in the backend, as well as the SSI and NFT kit, so that you can have a wallet that lets users receive verifiable credentials as well as present them to verifiers, and also see their tokens and assets and use them to log into different solutions and leverage them for utility. Okay, and then as a last step, because we don't want to forget about all the great applications which are already out there in the ecosystem, and that's why we have a backwards compatible product, which is the IDP kit. And basically what it does, it is an OIDC compliant identity provider that you can connect to any IAM tool out there. So no matter if you're using Auth0, Keycloak, Firebase, or different authentication solutions which are built on OIDC standards, you can come and use the IDP kit and extend those identity solutions with credentials and NFT-based access. So you can easily leverage these new technologies to build login and utility. And now the question is, so how can you use our product? And we are a big believer in the open source model. So all the products you've seen are open source under the Apache 2 license. So you can basically use them as they are, modify them if you want, or extend them and build functionality on top, which we not yet support. And we are also working on the cloud platform because we're also a big fan of great user experience and to make it as easy as possible for developers to launch different identity solutions across platforms, which is why we are working on the cloud platform as a managed service. And not to forget, before we dive into the product, we also working strongly on bringing everything to multiple platforms. So if you haven't read our multi-platform announcement, make sure to check them out, which basically brings SSI and NFT to not only Kotlin, Java, but also JavaScript. And then on top, of course, the different REST interfaces. And we also plan to add more languages down the road. Okay, so let's now jump into the project, Near and walt.id, and what you will be able to do with it. We will have a demo where we go over the NFT kit, where you can see how you can create and distribute NFTs, as well as verify NFT ownership. Then we have a look at enabling access via NFTs in Web2 using the IDP kit. So you can then see how this works together with IAM tools like Auth0 or Firebase. And then you also see how you can create wallets with NFT support using different blockchains. With that, welcome to the stage, Khaled from walt.id will be doing the demo.
So hello everyone. I will be showcasing and demonstrating what we did, what we did with NEAR in our projects. So first of all, this is our NFT kit, and it's supporting multiple blockchains. Of course, we have the NEAR blockchain. In the first endpoint, we can create like a sub account for our main account. So for instance, I put in the project the credentials or the private key of my main account. And here I'm going to create a sub account where I will be deploying the smart contract. So all you have to do is just provide your main account, the new account you are creating, and the amount of NEAR you're going to transfer for this new created account in order to pay for gas fees and the deployment. Once executed, it will be returning the hash and the URL to the Explorer of NEAR. Of course, after creating our sub account, we can deploy our NFT contract. And we have two options. Either we can just use the default contract metadata, or we can custom our smart contract NFTs metadata. For this tutorial, we're gonna see the custom one. All you have to do is just give the parameters, put your account for the or the deployed one, and we execute our endpoint. Of course, once created and deployed, it will return the endpoint or the link to the Explorer that we can see, of course. Here, our contract is being deployed. And of course, since everything is user-friendly, the contract is initialized once it's deployed or created. So now let's go to minting the NFT. All you have to do is put the contract address, your account, this is basically the signer, the token ID, the title, description, the picture, and here I'm gonna put the receiver ID. So for this demonstration, I will be sending my NFT to this other account. Let's execute. Everything is minted. We have our Explorer URL that we can check, of course. So everything is minted and it's transferred to the account. And now let's basically verify ownership or return information about the NFT created. So for instance, if I want to return all the NFTs I have in a specific contract, of course, I have to provide the contract address and the account. I execute and it will return this NFT I have in this smart contract. And if I want, for instance, to return the metadata with providing a token ID or for a specific NFT on the smart contract, we can use this endpoint. So of course, it returns everything related to the NFT. So this is how we can retrieve NFTs and we can verify them. But we also have other endpoint where we can verify NFT ownership. So for this, you have to specify the contract address, the account holding the NFT, and the token you want to verify. And it will return true if this particular account has this NFT or not. Of course, we have something else to verify the NFT. It's using dynamic policy, and it's OPA. Here we have to develop the dynamic policy. It's basically like a code where it will be checking against this input. So this is the policy we developed, and then we can check if the NFT has those attributes or not. So here in this endpoint, I'm creating the policy. I executed. Let's check if it's created or not. We have our policy created. And now let's use the policy to verify ownership. So I'm going to be using the same NFT I just created. We provide the token ID and the policy name. It's policy2. And let's execute. So of course, it's returning true. I also have another policy, policy1. So let's try if it's working with that or not. So normally it will return false since doesn't exist on my NFT. So this is the NFT kit, and we can use this using the endpoint or just the Java SDK. Now let's go to our second product, which is the wallet kit. We're gonna be connecting our Near wallet. I use mainly well-done wallet for connecting. So just let me this. Yeah. Reconnect well done, accept, and now we are on the tokens page, and we can select our account and the testnet, and you can see we have the NFT. So this one is an old one, and this is the new. It seems like there is a problem with the image, but everything is minted. And of course, we can add other wallets from here, and we can see them displayed here alongside our connected account. And now let's check our third product, which is the IDP kit. But first, just let me run the project. So basically, IDP kit, it provides a Web2 solution to log in with your NFT. Basically, you have to specify in the IDP configuration on which smart contract you want to verify this connected account has a particular NFT or not. So for me, I'm going to be using my main account for this. And here we're going to sign in. We're going to use sign in with NFT. We connect Near. Of course, here we have to verify that I own this account, and that's by signing a message. It will be, of course, verified. I put my password, and of course, if I have an NFT, it will be redirected and signed in as my account. So this is what we can do with our project. This is a demonstration, and thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Khaled, for the demo.
Thank
you. What does this mean now for you as a developer? You can start today and use all the features which Khaled just showed and build your identity solution using NFTs on Near. And you can build with what you know or integrate, extend, and launch. So using the IDP kit, you can just set it up and then integrate it with your current auth solution in Web2 and enable users to come with their Neo wallet and log in. And to learn more about it, you can check our docs from the NFT kit, the IDP kit, and the wallet kit. And also learn more about through our guides and tutorials, as well as videos on YouTube. And yeah, what's next? We need you in our Discord, of course, because there we can chat and think about new ideas and solve problems together. So make sure to join walt.id/Discord, and we will see you there. And with that, we also reached the end, and we are a bit early. So thanks again to Ayong from Near Foundation, as well as Khaled from the walt.id team, who joined us today and presented Near and walt.id. So with that, I wish everyone a good evening or morning, depending where you're joining from. And yeah, happy building. See you next time.